Hey everybody, Jason here. Today I'm going to do a review on my team associated B44.3. Now you can see right here on the box art that this is Stephen Hartson's paint job. This kit was really inspired by Stephen's 2013 IFMAR World Championship winning four-wheel drive prototype buggy. And so the first thing I want to say is congratulations to Stephen. Those were a couple of amazing drives, and I was actually in Chico and got to watch everything happen, and it was amazing. I was actually standing right next to Brent Tilke when he jumped off the fence and celebrating. So it was really cool to see you win, Stephen, and congratulations on getting your paint job on the box art for a vehicle, which is really cool. So this is the team associated B44.3, and this is actually the car itself. Now, my car's not finished, and I will get to that a little bit later on in the video, but for now, I want to show you exactly what's going on. You can see that they shipped this bad boy with a J Concepts finisher body, which is pretty cool. So let me pull this off, and you'll see that the car has really been updated quite a bit. It's got new top decks. It's got this new sliding motor mount, which I think is absolutely awesome. I wish more manufacturers would kind of adopt this sliding motor mount. It's really an 8-scale style mount. But probably the most significant change that has taken place, there are really two main changes. You've been able to use the aluminum chassis from companies like Avid and Schill for a while now. But the real issue in this car is that it has gear diffs and you can run a shorty battery. And those two things have literally changed the way this car performs overnight. So it looks like they've cheapened a few things, like it comes with plastic shock caps now, and the older car came with aluminum shock caps and stuff like that. So I'm sure that they're probably trying to manage costs and things like that. But overall, those are really the biggest things. You know, you got gear diffs, the shorty, and the aluminum chassis, and for the rest of the car, there's a lot that interchanges with the old car. So now, one thing you cannot see on this car is the floating servo mount, and I have to be honest with you, I'm not a super huge fan of the floating servo mount. In fact, let me show you a quick video. This is my buddy Lee's floating servo mount, and he has the endpoints turned up just a little bit farther than lock, just so that when the car sits on the ground and there's friction on the tires, it'll go all the way to the lock.
See that?
Yep.
But it moved.
And you could see in the video that the servo mount was just kind of flexing quite a bit. So I'm not sure I'm a big fan of the floating servo mount. I guess it was worth a try, but for me, I would be running a standard servo mount in this car. Let's get on with the review. So performance. This car was really a break in performance from what I'm used to. Now, I've owned a whole bunch of B44s, two B44.2s, two B44.1s, one of which is still in the box, and then of course I purchased this car. Now, before I start discussing all the performance, I want you to know that I didn't actually run my own car. I ran a very close friend of mine's car, and it handles really well. And I've driven the car on several different occasions, and overall I'm really impressed with it. But these gear diffs, there is no question that if you're on a high traction surface, they let the car get into and out of the corner much faster than the ball diffs. With that being said, there's something to be said for what goes on in the cornering, but we'll cover that separately. But just to give you an idea of how much of an impact these gear diffs can make on the performance and the acceleration of a buggy, my buddy Lee, we used to race quite a bit, and I'm still running my Hot Bodies D413 for my primary car, and I run a 5.5, which I have to admit, that's a ton of motor. He runs a 6.5, and we would turn out onto these straightaways. Down at Hot Rod, I could put 15 feet on him in the straightaway, no problem. I mean, just easily. I could literally drive around him on the straightaway. Now, he took that exact same motor out of his B44.2, put it in his B44.3, and when I drove it, I was convinced he bought a new motor. I was like, Lee, you had to have put a new motor in this. He's like, no, man. He's like, those gear diffs they don't slip at all. And so I can't really tell you exactly why. I'm sure that it has something to do with the fact that the diffs don't slip at all, but he did not change. He did not buy a new motor, and his 6.5 it was like beast mode when he put it in his B44.3. So when it comes to acceleration and braking, I definitely think that there's no question this car has way more durability in the diffs than the old plastic diffs, and it's just generates a lot more acceleration. It's just that simple. Okay, so cornering. There's no question that if you're going to race on a sugared up, super high bite surface, or if you're at a track that really needs something like a slick tire, that a gear diff is probably the way to go. There's no question that it just generates more acceleration, and gear diffs can be less maintenance, But if you're on a medium to low grip surface, I think you're going to find that the old ball diffs will still serve you a little bit better. Now, they're a pain in the butt to build and get right. When I was at Cactus, I ended up blowing up 3 or 4 rear diffs, and the team manager from Team Associated, Brent Tilke, was kind enough to not only help me out with some parts, but he actually came over and shimmed my diff for me and just made sure it was right. And so, Brent, thanks so much. But the bottom line is, if you're going to buy this car, you really probably should just learn to drive it with the gear diffs. They're not as instantly adjustable, you know, just being able to put a driver in there, but they are adjustable with fluid and they are wicked durable compared to the old plastic stuff. So I don't know if I would say the cornering's any better, but if you're on high bite, for sure the gear diffs are better. If you're on low bite, you may want to look into getting your hands on a set of the old plastic ball diffs, because I think it'll make the car easier to drive at the end of the day. Okay, jumping and landing. Now this is something that there is a huge difference in from previous cars. Now I'm pretty much convinced that it has pretty much everything to do with the fact that this car can now run a shorty. But my old B44.2, my B44.1, there's no question that when I would get the damping package, like the shock package right, so the car would handle really good on the surface I was racing on, it was never really all that forgiving if you missed a landing. The car would just kind of land and slap. And this car suffers from a variety of other issues. It doesn't have a ton of droop. It has an excessive amount of dog bone plunge, so you have to shim the axles real carefully. You have to run limiters in the shocks. Anybody that's ever campaigned any of the B44 platforms for any duration will tell you that it's pretty easy to pop a dog bone out if you land a jump wrong, it's just one of the flaws in the car. But in general, I would say that jumping and landing, this car jumps better than ever before. When it lands, it sticks better than ever before. And so there's no question in my mind that this has to do with the fact that it's running a shorty battery. So definitely way, way better in jumping and landing. Okay, let's talk about durability. Durability. There is none. This car is not durable at all. In fact, out of all of the next generation four-wheel drive platforms, this car is like a piece of fine china. It's gonna break sooner or later. I've already watched guys break it all over the place. In fact, when we get to my conclusion, I share what I really think about what's going on at Team Associated. You're gonna see more, but the bottom line is this. This car is not durable. I don't know why Associated even bothered releasing this car with the gear diffs, the aluminum chassis, and the shorty package and the new motor mount without updating, at the very, very least, the front arms. They didn't do it. No matter, there are options out there. Lucky for us, our guys over here at RPM came through in a pinch. These are the RPM B44 arms, and I want to go ahead and pull one of these out of the package because there are a lot of rumors about these arms. This is part number 73432, and I've had a lot of people say, oh, well, RPM stuff is like rubber. Well, nothing could be further from the truth in this case. I've never run RPM arms on any of my other vehicles, but this thing is, I mean, it flexes a little bit, but it is pretty rigid. I mean, it's easily probably as rigid or very close to as rigid as a stock arm, but it is wicked durable. So if you're a hardcore, die-hard Associated fan, and I respect that if you are, don't be too proud. Go spend 10 or 11 bucks, get yourself one of these RPM sets of front arms, and that will make this car heaps better. You will actually be able to drive it through chicanes without panicking every time you hear the tires rubbing the pipes and stuff like that. So no question, durability in this car really doesn't exist. But this will go a long, long way towards making this car more drivable and giving you a way better chance at finishing a race. Okay, let's talk about the build. Some of the build went okay and some of it didn't, and here are some issues. Number one, when you're actually building the diffs, a lot of times the bearing won't go over the outdrive because the shim that's between the outdrive and the diff case is too big. So you have a few options. You could probably take everything all the way back apart, put the shims on over the bearing, but you still have the issue where the shims aren't actually going to ride inside the bearing. They're actually going to get caught on the race a little bit. So I've heard some guys say they just took the shims out. Some guys filed them down. Some guys are just using other shims. Either way, Associated messed that one up pretty good. So that was the first issue. The second issue is when you're trying to put the pinion that goes in for the ring and pinion in the diff case onto the end of the actual drive shaft. I have no idea who designed that, but that is a horrible design. I know guys that lost 4 or 5 E-clips just trying to put that one thing together. I bent my first one in half and my second one went on, but it still looks tweaked if you ask me. Another horrible design. Other than that, the shocks actually went together really well this time, surprisingly well, as a matter of fact. But there's just, you know, this kit was kind of a disaster for me. I've always loved Associated's products, but this kit was missing O-rings for the diffs. The diff gears were cut improperly. And last but not least, the rear drive shaft they sent with the kit was out of a ProLite 4x4 short course truck. It wasn't even the right parts. So I don't know what's going on over there, but there's no question that there's just some piss poor quality control going on over at Associated lately. And I'm not even going to bring up the fact that when I built both of my B5s, the ball cups were super bindy, and I don't know what's going on over there. I've been a huge Associated fan for a long time, but the build sucked. In fact, the build was so bad that I'm not even finishing the kit. I'm selling this kit. That's just that simple. So this kit's gone. By the time you see this video, this kit will have been gone, is what it is. That was the build. It was a major bummer. But wait, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. In fair disclosure, when I called Associated, without a hitch, they did send me the O-rings, they did send me the dog bone, and they did send me the diff gear. So there's no question, their customer service is rocking it over there. Nick, thank you very much. You're doing a great job. But whoever's leading the charge at Associated, why would you let these kits go out the door with this level of quality control? How hard is it to take a couple of kits from different lot numbers, you know, one from row 1, position 5, and one from row 10, position 10, and have your guys build them before you start sending them out? I know for a fact that a lot of the Associated factory drivers didn't even build these factory kits before us, the customers, started building them. And I just don't understand why you would do that. Anyways, I digress. The build sucked. Let's finish up with the conclusion. Okay, so after all this, where do I stand on the B44.3? I think you guys can see that I've bought a truckload of Associated kits, and this is probably truthfully less than half of all the kits I've actually ever owned from Associated. At least 3 SC10 boxes, and what you probably can't see, you can see Stephen Hartson, the B44.3 here, but what you can't see is that even to this day, this is my B44.1, brand new in the box. So this is kind of tough for me because I've been a huge Associated fan for a really long time, and I'd like to think that I'm friends with some of the guys that race these cars at a very high level. But I can't tell you to go out and buy a B44.3. I just can't do it. I wouldn't spend your money on a B44.3. I wouldn't do it. And if you decide against what I'm saying, and I know that a lot of you will, just know this. The build is the disastrous part. Once you get past the build, the car's pretty amazing. I mean, it accelerates well, brakes well, jumps well, lands better than ever. It does have some of the old gremlins that the original B44 platform has had forever. You know, the dog bones popping out and having to shim the axles just right and using some extra limiters in the shocks to make sure that you don't get too much droop. But I'm just bummed, man. I've been a huge Associated fan forever, and you know, a few years back when they released the SC10 4x4, I got my hands on one of those. That thing was, you know the deal. You know what's going on with that thing. I thought, it's a fluke. It's a one-time deal. So I raced out and I bought both of the B5s the day they were available. I got the rear motor first, the mid motor second, and I built them both. And they said, oh, these are the same as the B4 geometry, but they're more tunable. Neither one of those cars, specifically the rear motor, doesn't drive anything like a B4. I loved my B4. I still love my B4. As a matter of fact, I have a built B4 ready to go and a built Central ready to go right this very minute. And then they released the B44.2, and then we find out later on that all the guys are running the short car. Now they release this car here, and we find out that half the guys are still running short cars with ball diffs. They're not even running gear diffs most of the time. And so I just don't know what's going on. When I built my B5 and the ball cups were bindy, I thought for sure that we'd get an email that says, hey, look, we're going to replace all your ball studs, or we're going to send you some new ball cups and stuff like that. But it never came. And so as far as I'm concerned, this Associated, this is not the company that I grew up admiring. This is not, it just isn't. I just feel like they're careless. I feel like this B44.3 was just a useless attempt at just milking the public, milking all of us AE fanboys, and I include myself in that because I've loved their cars for so long. I just feel like they milked us with this one. There's no reason when a new platform, I mean, after what happened at the Worlds, After Ty Tessman smashed into Cavalieri and then Mayfield smashed into Ty, and you had two broken B44s laying there on the track, and then Ty drives away, that wasn't a big enough lesson? I mean, thank God Steven was driving clean and smooth and worked his way through traffic and showed some patience and won your most recent world championship. Because your two top contenders ran into the Hot Bodies car and were both out of commission instantly. That alone should have been a big enough reason to update the arms and make the car more durable. So I have to believe that if Associated wanted the car to be a true race car and to be truly durable, if Associated wanted to win as bad as they say they do, they would make a car that can finish every race. But that's not what the B44.3 is. So I'm not going to rant anymore. The performance is good, really good. The build was bad, and for me, really bad. The customer service is very good, but I don't know what the heck they're doing over here at Associated. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. If I could have taken this car back, if I could take it back to the hobby shop that I bought this thing from, I would take it back right now and get my money back. But I can't. So I decided not to finish building it. I'm just going to sell it. I don't know. I don't even know what to tell you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this review, and that is just about that. See you in the next one.
$16.2, $15.4.
That must be Nathan.
$14.8.
Ooh.
14.7.
See, the arms are pretty strong.
Yeah.
Give me that.
15.7. 15.7. 14.5. 16.7. 14.7.
Ooh, on top.
Hey, by the way, before you leave, I just want to say thanks again for watching my videos. I only make these videos so that we can have fun together. By the way, you'd be doing me a big favor if you could either comment, like, or even better, subscribe to my channel. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I bought this car specifically because I just wanted to see how the new platform would stack up to the older cars that I've owned. I really like my Hot Bodies D413, and that's what I'm going to continue to run. But I bought this car for two specific reasons. One, because I wanted to see how it would stack up to previous B44 platforms, and because I knew I thought it would make for a great review, because I know that tons of you guys are either going to have this car now or will have it in the future. So I thought, hey, let's do a review that people want to see. So that's why I did it. I did not buy this car because I needed a four-wheel buggy in any way, shape, or form. So I just want to get that out of the way.